how Andrew's daughters Beatrice and Eugenie now have one option: to voluntarily renounce their royal titles. That shows self-awareness and respect for both the King and William's preference for
2 princesses, 2 tiaras, and suddenly no invitations. That's not just a social snub. This is a full-blown royal shutdown unfolding behind palace doors, and the silence coming out of Buckingham Palace is louder than any scandal we've seen in years. Because right now, something deeply unsettling is happening to Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie, and it's not just about bad press. It's about power, perception, and a brutal internal purge that nobody wants to admit publicly. Their father, Prince Andrew, dragged into disgrace. Their mother, Sarah Ferguson, stripped of honors. And then, like a ticking time bomb, their names surfacing in documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Coincidence? Or the moment everything started collapsing? Because once those documents dropped, everything changed. Not overnight, no. This was slower, colder, more calculated. Emails, connections, travel records, mentions scattered like clues in a mystery no one wanted to solve publicly, but everyone was reading privately. The York family suddenly didn't just look controversial, they looked entangled. And even though there's no accusation of wrongdoing against Beatrice or Eugenie, and a monarchy built on image, perception doesn't whisper, it screams. And the whispers got louder when it emerged that trips to New York, meetings, even logistics were allegedly facilitated through Epstein's network, with names like Ghislaine Maxwell appearing in the background like a shadow no one could shake off. Innocent association? Maybe. But in royal politics, maybe is dangerous. Then came the moment that insiders now describe as the breaking point. February, an arrest, a date that now hangs over everything like a dark cloud. That single event didn't just shake the York family, it detonated their standing inside the monarchy. And from that point on, what followed wasn't random. It was strategic. Titles stripped, residences questioned, honors revoked. It was as if the system itself began quietly pushing them out, one move at a time, while maintaining a polished public smile. And here's where it turns from scandal to something far more chilling, because this wasn't just about the past anymore, it became about survival. The daughters, still holding on to their HRH titles, suddenly found themselves walking a tightrope, not because of what they did, but because of who they are connected to. Every appearance scrutinized, every photo analyzed, every invitation reconsidered. And then came the move that changed everything. The one that insiders say left Beatrice shaken and Eugenie spiraling. Prince William, the future king, the man who doesn't just react, he recalibrates. And what he reportedly did sent shockwaves through royal circles. A directive, quiet but devastating, no photos, no public appearances together, no shared optics. Just like that, a line was drawn. Not subtly, not gently, but decisively. This wasn't family anymore, this was strategy. And suddenly, Beatrice and Eugenie weren't just controversial, they were isolated. Think about that for a second. Your own cousin, the future monarch, essentially building a visible barrier around you. Not publicly announced, but deeply felt. Invitations start disappearing. Events become off limits. Even something as symbolic as Ascot, gone. And the explanation? Not personal. Never personal. Always for the good of the monarchy. But insiders hint at something more. A clash. A refusal. A moment where the sisters reportedly didn't follow William's guidance, especially when it came to scrutiny over finances and transparency. And from that moment, patience ran out. Because William isn't playing the long game anymore, he's rewriting the board, tightening the circle, redefining what the monarchy looks like before he even takes the throne. And in that vision, there's less room for risk, less tolerance for association, and absolutely no space for unresolved scandal. Beatrice and Eugenie, whether fairly or not, became part of that risk profile. And then came Easter, a tradition, a ritual, a moment where the royal family presents unity to the world. Except this time, something was off. The smiles were there, the cameras flashed, but 2 faces were missing. Not by accident, not by scheduling conflict, by design. With the approval of King Charles III himself, the sisters stayed away. And just like that, a decades-old tradition cracked. Because an Easter without them isn't just absence, it's a message. A message that the monarchy is changing, that boundaries are being redrawn, that proximity to scandal, no matter how indirect, comes with consequences. And as the world watched the royal family walk into St. George's Chapel, perfectly composed, perfectly united, the real story was the silence left behind, the space where 2 princesses used to stand, the gap that now feels less temporary and more like a warning. And if this is how it looks in public, what's really happening behind those palace walls? What conversations are being had when the cameras are gone? Because one thing is clear, this isn't over, not even close. And if the silence around them feels heavy in public, behind closed doors it's suffocating. Because what Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie are dealing with right now isn't just exclusion, it's emotional fallout that's starting to crack through the polished royal surface. The pressure isn't balanced, it's crushing. Eugenie, once seen as the more composed and steady sister, is now reportedly unraveling in private, with late-night calls, frantic conversations, and a growing sense that the ground beneath her is no longer stable. And Beatrice, the one who always carried herself with quiet strength, the one who learned composure from Queen Elizabeth II herself, she's now at the center of something far more personal, far more fragile, and far more dangerous than just public opinion. Because while the world sees a composed royal figure, insiders whisper about a woman stretched to her limits. A father in disgrace, a mother publicly humiliated, a family name under constant scrutiny, and then, layered on top of that, whispers about her marriage. Her relationship with Edoardo Mapelli-Mossi suddenly dragged into the spotlight. Rumors swirling despite denial, speculation growing louder even as those close to them insist nothing is wrong. But in the world they live in, truth doesn't move as fast as suspicion. And suspicion right now? It's moving like wildfire. Beatrice is caught in a storm where every direction leads to pressure. Loyalty to her father pulling her one way, survival inside the monarchy pulling her another, and her personal life becoming collateral damage in a narrative she didn't create. And here's where it gets even more complicated. Because loyalty, the very thing that defines her, is also what's putting her at odds with the most powerful strategy unfolding inside the palace. Her instinct is to stand by Prince Andrew, to defend, to remain close, to not abandon him in his darkest hour. But that instinct, it directly clashes with the calculated distancing being executed by Prince William. Because William isn't thinking emotionally, he's thinking institutionally. Optics, legacy, survival of the crown. And in that framework, closeness to Andrew isn't loyalty, it's liability. So what happens when a daughter refuses to step back, but a future king insists on creating distance? That's not just tension, that's a collision. And that collision is happening right now, quietly, behind smiles, behind statements, behind carefully staged appearances. Eugenie's emotional strain, Beatrice's internal conflict, it's all part of a much larger fracture that's spreading through the family like a cracking glass. And then, just when it seemed like the sisters were being pushed further into isolation, a completely unexpected door creaked open. Not from within the palace, but from outside it, from California, from the very people who once walked away from the institution itself. Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, the outsiders, the exiles, the ones who know exactly what it feels like to be cut off, to be reshaped by the narrative, to be placed on the wrong side of the royal line. And suddenly, they're reaching back in. An offer, quiet, personal, but explosive in its implications. A place to stay, a safe space, an understanding that doesn't come from protocol, but from experience. Harry reportedly telling them he knows how it feels to be on the outside, extending something the palace isn't offering right now, empathy. And this changes everything, because this isn't just a kind gesture, it's a potential shift in alliances. But here's the twist that makes this even more dangerous, accepting that lifeline could make everything worse. Because aligning with Harry and Meghan doesn't just offer comfort, it comes with consequences. Inside royal circles, it reinforces a narrative that you're no longer part of the core, that you belong to a different orbit, a different faction. And for Beatrice and Eugenie, already walking a fragile line, that association could push them even further away from reconciliation with William and the palace. So now they're trapped in a dilemma with no easy exit. Stay isolated and try to rebuild trust from within, or accept support from the outside and risk confirming every suspicion already forming around them. It's not just a choice, it's a gamble. And every move they make right now is being watched, interpreted, and quietly judged. Which brings us to the question that no one inside the palace is answering out loud: what happens next? Because the future of Beatrice and Eugenie isn't just uncertain, it's hanging on a timeline that nobody can control. Right now, King Charles III still provides a layer of protection, a softer approach, a more emotional connection. He hasn't cut them off. He hasn't erased them. In fact, he's allowed them to remain within the royal fold, at least for now. But time isn't standing still, and neither is the shift in power, because looming over everything is the inevitable transition. The moment when William no longer advises, but decides. And if his current strategy is any indication, that future could look very different. Colder, tighter, more control. A monarchy stripped of anything that even hints at controversy. And in that version of the future, where does that leave the York sisters? Experts are already hinting at what could come next. Fewer appearances, fewer roles, fewer connections. A gradual fading. Not an abrupt removal, but something slower, quieter, more permanent. The kind of exit that doesn't make headlines because it happens piece by piece until one day you realize they're just not there anymore. Their charitable roles? At risk. Their public presence diminishing. Their royal identity slowly being redefined into something smaller, something less central, something easier to manage. And yet, here's the part that makes this story even more unsettling. They already have lives beyond the palace. Careers, businesses, families. Jack Brooksbank building a life abroad with Eugenie, Beatrice stepping into the private sector, creating a path that doesn't rely on royal duty. So the question isn't just whether they'll be pushed out, it's whether they'll choose to step away before that happens. Whether they'll take control of their own narrative or be quietly written out of it. Because right now, everything feels like it's balancing on a knife edge. Every decision, every appearance, every silence, it all feeds into a story that's still unfolding in real time. And the most chilling part? There's no clear ending, no resolution. Just a slow, deliberate shift that's changing the shape of the royal family from the inside out. Two princesses, one secure, one central, now navigating a reality where their titles don't guarantee protection, their loyalty creates conflict, and their future depends on decisions being made in rooms they may no longer be invited into. And as the palace continues to present its polished image to the world, the real story lingers beneath the surface, unfinished, unresolved, and growing more complicated by the day. Because this isn't just a scandal, it's a transformation. And the question no one can answer yet is whether Beatrice and Eugenie will survive it or disappear within it.